Here in Davos, as always, India is being talked about. Global growth is coming off, global markets are in turmoil, and in a way, that's done good for India. People are talking about it. Will they invest in India? Well, one firm that people turn to, corporations turn to for advice is McKinsey, the top consulting firm in the world. With me here on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos is Kevin Sneadar. He's Chairman, McKinsey Asia. So thank you very much for your time. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Am I right in saying that the interest in India, the conversations around India is a lot more compared to last year?
It definitely has increased. So I think the level of interest last year was actually high, but this year it's even higher. It's reflected both in terms of the Indian delegation here, which feels larger, but I think it's also not just because growth, say, has slowed in China. It's because people are actually quite interested in the growth that India is delivering.
Okay.
And they're asking the question, can we expect more? Is this going to be a lasting change? And can we move from being interested to actually making a commitment? All those questions are definitely getting asked at a higher level and at a faster level than they were 12 months ago.
Is that going to translate into action, investments?
Well, time's going to tell. I think in terms of an actual investment, not yet.
Okay.
But in terms of being at that stage between we're sort of vaguely interested and we're ready to commit, we're definitely nearing the point of decision. And I think we're therefore in this window of opportunity that's important for India, because the world is watching. The world wants to believe because it's looking for a place where you can get reliable, consistent growth. And they're saying all the fundamentals are pointing in the right direction, but they ask the question, is it at the end of the day going to be possible to build a sustainable, profitable business in India and see it flourish over the longer term? That's
So
what they want the question.
The market is there.
Market is
there. The question
there.
is not about effective demand. That is also there.
That is also there.
Right? So what's the problem? What's holding back people? Is it still issues like ease of doing business?
Ease of doing business is the catchphrase. I think ultimately, when you really peel back and start to say, what are people looking for? They actually are looking for all the things that India needs to deliver anyway to create the kind of employment that the Make in India effort talks about. So they're looking to see that the infrastructure investments are being made, and they can see some are being made. They're looking to see that the administrative burden on business is being addressed and lowered, and they can see progress in that regard.
Sure.
They're looking to see, is the tax system going to be simplified?
Sure.
People are watching to see what happens with GST. Will that actually happen or not? They're looking to see the labour laws. Are these being harmonised? Are they being simplified? If they are, time will tell. That will be an important step forward. Land rights. Can I be confident in ownership rights? How are those going to be protected? And last but by no means least is the commitment to building the skills of the workforce happening at the scale that's necessary, given the scale of employment that has to be created in order to absorb the 69 million new people coming into the workforce over the next 8 to 10 years.
Sure. It's about positive experiences, right? I mean, if the market's there, the profits to be made are there. It's about having positive experiences. I mean, if you have negative experiences, people sort of shun the market, even though there is a profit to be made there.
Well, the problem is the bad experiences linger.
Yes.
And there have been some.
Yes.
I do think the good stories are there.
Yeah.
I also think that people are looking at India with an eye to saying, we want to believe. So I think the days of considerable skepticism have eroded.
Okay.
We're now in a more positive space. People like the rhetoric, they like what they're hearing.
Sure.
They are looking, as you say, for these examples of success. And as they come and as visible things happen, the infrastructure starts to be built, the foreign investment gets welcomed, the tax code gets reformed, that just helps galvanize the confidence into action. And we're at that tipping point. So time will tell, but the tipping point is near.
Which industry sectors, and you have a real bird's eye view on this, you think one should be most bullish about in India?
Well, clearly construction. You know, at the end of the day, the scale of infrastructure and other development is taking place. If you say, and we look at the number of jobs that we think could be created, let's say it's 115 million by 2022, 115 million 2022, 50 million of those, construction.
Okay.
So clearly a massive ramp up there. But let's not forget manufacturing, 27 million in manufacturing.
Okay.
And the services sector, which has been very healthy for India in many spaces, and they're well represented here in Davos, 35 million or so. That gets you to 122 million. That's 3 big sectors of the economy, each of which has plenty of opportunity.
To be frank, I thought that you'd say, well, consumer, tech, healthcare,
Well, they come.
education?
They come. I mean, let's be clear. Let's be very clear about the consumer sector. It needs to have the employment base there, generating the opportunity, then people will spend.
Sure.
So I am optimistic. I spend my time working
but
in
you're
the
saying the
consumer
max
sector.
opportunity is in construction?
Well, I'm saying those are
manufacturing?
fundamental to absorbing the employment that needs to be created. As an investor, there are absolutely opportunities in tech, which is part of the services number that I gave you.
So this is what's happening, I think. A lot of the money, I mean, this is areas where there's a lot of opportunity, but capital, and we need a lot of risk capital in India, it's not going into those sectors. It's going into consumer, e-commerce, tech, I mean, those kind of
Well,
those kind of areas.
this is where the government and the action between the private and the public sector has to be working together. Because the examples I gave you, the private sector needs in order to have confidence from overseas money to want to invest in India. And also, frankly, India needs to deliver on those to absorb the employment and create the employment that's required. So the investment that's happening, I don't doubt. Absolutely, there are opportunities in all of the sectors you've described, and the private money is flowing into them. But we absolutely have to see the public-private combination deliver in these other areas in order to create the employment conditions which will keep India in balance as its new demographic dividend pays off. I don't think the private sector operates independently from that. Both have to happen.
You think the government needs to spend a lot more? Comes down to that?
I'm not arguing with the government needs to spend a lot more, it needs to spend a lot more effectively. And I think it needs to be able to focus that spend in the areas I've been describing.
Mr. Sneadar, it's a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Prashant.